Hello and welcome back to Circuits with Angel. Today, I will be making a 3D model of a hammer that could be made in real life, to scale. It will be split into two parts, the body and the head, that can then be attached by a thread on each side. I can only really make things by machining them, so these will all be made as if they are created from cylinders, and then having holes drilled into them if needed. In this video though, I will only be making the rod section. The skills we will practice today by making this is the ability to create 3D models with the revolve function, bevels in a 2D sketch that will be revolved, and applying threads to straight cylinders. I actually made this before I finished making the video because I wanted this design to be workable. There was quite a bit I realized making this hammer, and it is actually quite important that when designing, you think about the person actually making the part. If you were 3D printing my first design, it could be fine. But since I have to use a tool that looks like this, I had to add a taper out in the back for a thread. Well, whatever, let's actually make this model. I'll walk through step by step in live time how I would actually make this using the drawing, here. Take a screenshot if you need to, because I will be using these dimensions for the sketch. So Fusion360 recently changed this, I see. I'm going to choose part design, inches and ounce mass. I'm going to do create new. And then I'm going to create a sketch. Go to the right side because we're going to revolve it later. And let's start with a line. And if you look at this drawing, it looks kind of crazy, but it's actually not that hard. So you just take the outer diameter, which is the biggest cylinder, and you're going to divide it by 2 to get the radius. And later on, if you revolve the radius, it turns into the full-size cylinder. So actually, I'm going to get my calculator. And then we're going to go up 0.5625. All right, 0.5625. And then click. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And then the total length will be 8.625, as you can see on the drawing. That does not need to be divided by 2 because it is not a diameter. All right, and then click again because it's straight. And then I would go down that much, and I would press that. Now for the second part, as we can see, there is a feature at the front. Now let's break it down into simple steps. All right, so we see the front of the part in the thread detail at the bottom has a diameter of 0.627. So let's take that and turn it into a radius so we can make the front part. 0.627 divided by 2. Okay, then we're going to go from this point up to 0.3135. 0.3135. There you go. So that is the start of that. You can't really see this, but this thread is a 3/4 10 threads per inch UNC thread. So we would go take 3/4, and since that's the diameter of the thread, we're going to divide that by 2 to get the radius, and we're going to go up 0.375, and oh, I messed that up. 0.375, click, and that doesn't really look right, but the thing is, we have to make it to the length of the actual thread, and then it will all come together. So we're going to take the first length, 0.058 plus 0.356 plus 0.061. And that is the length of the thread cylinder. So 0.475. Make sure it's straight, then click again. And I would personally go down here and maybe complete it like this, so you can see that you made a completed shape here. Now nothing else does that because we didn't put a line down here. And that's fine because I don't really need that right now. If we look at the back part of the thread, it is actually a different size than the front. So we're going to take that size. It is 0.622 in diameter. We're going to divide by 2, 0.311, and it's at the back. And here we go. We made it. And it has a length there, so it's 0.15. Perfect. I'm going to complete that too so it looks like a finished shape. Now, you probably don't really think this looks like the thread yet either, but we will add the bevels and that should help quite a bit. So you start here at the point where we first made that outside, that beginning of the bevel size. So we're going to click here, and then we're going to go somewhere off into the distance. It doesn't really matter, you will see in the future. And then do it on the other side too. Then you have sketch dimension, and I don't think I've shown this yet, but here we are. We're going to start with the straight edge on the side. This is going to be where the angle comes from. It's very important that you choose the right edge. In the future, you may see an example of why. And then you click the other edge, and this is the angle between those two lines. I was pretty close, so it didn't really do much, but let's see the other side. There we go. And if the extra length bothers you, you can trim it like that. You can also trim this, but it gives you a warning. As long as you put in the right size to begin with, it's fine. Yeah, so that kind of looks like it's starting to look like the thread now. But we still aren't done, so let's start with the rest of the tapers. There's only one, so it's not that bad. All right, the first length is 5.778. 5.778. I'm going to move, make sure it's straight, and it creates a point there. It shows up, so it's useful. And then the second point will be at 7 inches. But we also need to make the cylinder that's the second cylinder. Let's make that. It looks like I forgot to do that. 0.825. Let's put in radius, and 0.4125. 0.4125. And then we just go up at the back of that thread, and perfect. We will remember that point for later. Okay, and let's go. I'm going to start from the bottom this time because I feel like it would make it less cluttered at the top. But it doesn't really matter. And then we have to make it match up here. So I'm hovering over the point, and if you just drag straight, it has a dotted line, and that means it's aligned with each other. So I'm going to zoom in, and ta-da. Do not be worried by this blue stuff. It just means that you have a completed thing here. If I took away this line, it would go away, but I don't really want to do that. All these dimension lines also don't really matter, so do not worry about those if you don't know what they are. They just make sure you have the correct size. And then here, from that end point of 5.778, click here and go here. As you can see, it's 7 degrees exactly. So that is how you know you did it right. And click to that point you made, and you can close it up here and finish sketch. That looks about right to me. So then we go to the revolve, and we will click the bottom edge. No, actually we have to select the profile first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, that's kind of what it looks like in the drawing. And then click axis. Here's that center line. So just imagine how it's revolving around. And then, okay. Now we have the base part of it. We can add on some bevels now, or chamfers. I'm going to start with that, and then after that we're going to make some threads. Okay, I'm putting 0.025 chamfer on the sharp edges, like here and here. Okay, this part does not need a chamfer because it has no sharp edges. Like if you ran your hand over that, it would not cut you. But a sharp edge here or here would probably cut you. And these already have chamfers built in, so you don't need to do anything there either. So we're going to go to create to make the thread, and we're going to look for the thread option. And here we go. We're going to click on this face. As you can see, it already knows what kind of thread I want to make. I always choose the modeled option so I can see it. Just make sure it's 3/4, 10 threads per inch UNC. Right hand, looks good to me. And there we go. That is how I would make this drawing in Fusion 360. So the main takeaway is when you look at these drawings and you're trying to make a part using the revolve function, make sure you take all the diameters, usually they are marked with a diameter symbol, and divide them by 2. That way when they revolve around, they create the full circle. And that's how you make the rod. Sooner or later, I will make the hammer part, but I have not done that in real life yet because I did not get around to it. Here are some videos of the rod when I was machining it. It's actually a part that's sitting on my table right now, but I need to make the second half and probably will make the video for the second half before I actually make the part. That's all. Thank you for watching and see you next time.